This is Hybrid Threats Research Center in Helsinki, and we have a very interesting guest today here, Agneta Norberg from Sweden, and she's the chairman of the Swedish Peace Council. Welcome, Agneta. Have you been many times in Helsinki before?
Oh yes, I think 10 times, if more. Yeah, I've been here, and I'm always very pleased to be here. In fact, I feel very close to Finnish people in a way, as I come from the northern part of Sweden, and the northern part of Sweden and Finnish mentality are similar in a way.
But you don't have Finnish roots?
No, I don't have Finnish roots.
So, how do you like Finland? What kind of country Finland is today, and would you comment the foreign policy of Finland in comparison with the Swedish foreign policy?
Well, sad to say that both Sweden and Finland follow the Pentagon's directive to change their foreign policy in a way that suits NATO. Why can I say that? Talking about Finland, I was in Rovaniemi in beginning of June, making a speech at the enormous war game Arctic Challenge exercise. That was the center of this exercise was actually Rovaniemi, but it also was together with Luleå and Bodø. Those three staging points, places with the huge airfield are developing to a common war planning area. So I followed this. I think this Arctic Challenge exercise was the third one in a row, with 150 air wings exercising. The interoperability is a very important military strategic term. That's what they're doing together with 7 other countries, specifically United States Air Force.
And what is this common war planning about? They are planning a war?
For me, it's obvious that they are planning a war on Russia. I can't see it together with other installations. If I go into that, S-range, which few people even in Sweden have the faintest idea. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the world's biggest downloading station from satellites. The war today is, all wars are launched by the help of satellites. Satellites are swirling around the globe and taking pictures of the entire globe, and it has to be downloaded. And S-range is downloading the pictures, sending to, like a young girl say, why she was working at S-range she was a gymnasium scholar, and she was there at the Space Gymnasium in Kiruna, and she asked one of the experts visiting Kiruna, he was talking about space installations and war, and he said, now I understand. I was a scholar at S-range, and I asked, why are you always downloading pictures over Russia and sending them to the US?
So the S-range is in Sweden?
Yeah, talk about Sweden.
Yes, so Sweden is downloading satellite data for Pentagon.
Pictures of the entire globe.
But also Russia?
Oh yes, that's what she said. She asked the leaders, why are we always downloading, because she was a student, she wanted to learn what they were doing at S-range. But I didn't get any good answer, she said. Why? I think when in Sweden, first of all, I have to present Esrange as it had been like the elephant in the room. It's there, but nobody talks about it, and they don't want to see it. And I have to point out that close to Kiruna, a couple of miles outside Kiruna, you have the world's biggest downloading station from satellites. What are you talking about? Even in Kiruna, even if they know Esrange, but they don't hardly know what it is for.
Mm. So this is a way the Sweden is helping United States military against Russia, actually.
Well, it's obvious. Sweden is a NATO country without being in NATO. And that means that we launch exercises. It started, it was what should we call it? It was called Snow, Dark and Cold. It was a one-person investigation of what should we do with 1/3 of Sweden where there is no people living. Of course, the Samic people protested, and those who live in Kiruna, it says people here, but it was put forward at the government on the 2004 on the 15th of December. There were very few in the parliament, so it was passed without obviously any discussion. What they could do with this big area, 1/3 of Sweden about. We sell it, they decided. Everybody who wants to train their drones, they do. They train the AMRAAM, space-launched rocket. This is a US rocket, because it's so huge, and they have parallel training fields, so you can launch and train the drones, the rockets, on a long area. And this was decided in 2004. And after that, in 2006, it started almost on yearly basis, Nordic Air Meet, with 10, 12 countries involved. And then came Arctic Challenge exercise with about the same countries involved: Germany, Britain, France, US, Netherlands, Belgium, and even sometimes, occasionally, the Baltic states were training from northern Sweden down to my hometown where I come from. It's an area, as I said, big as Germany, about. If you take the Norway and the Finnish area. So it's a huge area. And the American, what is it? I'm not sure what kind of grade, what he is, but he said, oh, what an area, depopulated. It is so crowded in Germany. But people in Germany were fed up. And they say the Cold War is over. Stop training for war. So they had really difficulties in Germany. Wonderful. Then they moved up to the north. And there they are.
You had a very interesting presentation at our conference yesterday here in Helsinki, and the title of your presentation was Sweden as a platform enabling US control over Russia. So what do you mean by this, and how United States is using Sweden against Russia? Could you explain?
Yeah, because one thing, first, we have a very complicit media. So what I talk about has not been so easy to find out. But there are occasionally some small article you can find, and I cut it out, and then one thing I call Kiruna Are they there? Yes, they are here. So I have friends in Kiruna, up in the north. I have friends in Luleå, up in the north. And then they say, oh, Agneta, you must come here, because now they are here again. And all these things has made me understand what's going on. So there are many things that has been done. First, a complicit media. Then, an interesting thing that very few had noticed, but I did. I'm not sure if you know about Zbigniew Brzezinski. Zbigniew Brzezinski, he's dead now, but he wrote a book, The Grand Chessboard, how the US should take over the entire world. It's a handbook. It's called, by the criticist, a handbook in world dictatorship. His son, Mark Brzezinski, he became an ambassador to the US in year 2011 to 2014-15. And his father is
in Sweden.
in Sweden. And his brother, Ian Brzezinski, was appointed not an ambassador, but a high advisor in another country, which is now transformed into a colony of the US, namely Ukraine. So these two brothers were the plowshares for opening up, well, many other things, but for me it was obvious that these two were very important. And the father, Zbigniew, was visiting his son Mark and his I think he had a granddaughter or grandson in Stockholm. I think it was in 2010 or 11 something. So we had a high prestigious visitor in Stockholm. Very few understood these, but you know, I follow them by footstep. So it's not the only thing. It's also both in the north, and another thing which has made me I'm really scared. I try to talk very optimistic, but in my heart I'm very scared for what I see develop. What do I see develop? The Eastern Sea was earlier, during 10-20 years ago or more, named the Sea of Peace, because it shouldn't be war games. And the island of Åland is a demilitarized zone in the middle of the Eastern Sea. What has happened in the Eastern Sea that makes me so scared is just an example. One of the 10-20 Baltic operations. It's the 13-14 countries who are training for war in the Eastern Sea. It's called the Baltic operations. And Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, those three Baltic states now houses US military bases in Emari in Estonia, in Šiauliai in Lithuania, and the third one I just forgot. But they have bases there, and they have, well, you can imagine, Soviet Union saved us all from Nazism. Well, I feel so sorry for that. I almost start crying. Well, losing 27 million to save us all from fascism and a devastated country. And now German warfighters are training together with NATO and occasionally coming close to Leningrad, former Leningrad, now St. Petersburg. How is it for a Russian or a Petersburg citizen to see, because they are very close, and then they just come close and then they go away? They might have a memory of what those German warfighters were doing. Leningrad was into people were dying for starvation and surrounded. And you know, I get so upset when I talk about this, because we are so few, but we have I don't remember actually the Second World War. I was 8 years old in 1945, but I have read a lot, and my wakening up about the big lie who saved us all from Nazism. It was the United States of America. It was a lie. I was there in 1970 and understood, oh my God, they lost millions. I didn't know that. And I went home and I started to talk about it, you know, and I thought, no, I'm so stupid. I'm the only one who didn't understand this. Why didn't I understand this? It's terrible. It's terrible.
So
and then I understood.
You mentioned you went to Soviet Union the first time in 1970.
Yes. And then I understood this.
By the way, can you tell more about this? Your first visit to Russia. It was 1970.
It was,
Where did you go and what did you see?
Well, so it was. My mother died at the age of 68 in 1968. My mother, Hulda. We were 7 kids. I was one in the middle, so I could do whatever I wanted. That's why I became the one I am, because nobody had the time to look at me. So I could develop in a way freely. But my mother was a very good mother, very good, talented and literature, and she was the teacher in the village. But anyhow, we were not rich. We were relatively poor, but she was a teacher, so she had at least been able to put 6,000 Swedish kronor in a bank. And we were 6. So we got 1,000 Swedish kronor each as a, what is it called? Heritage. Yeah, we got it after her death. And I said to I had 1,000. I never had so much money, but I had 1,000 Swedish kronor in my hand. And I said, what can I do with this? So I don't just buy spaghetti and meatballs and eat it up. No, I must do something important. And I didn't really understand how important it was. I got to Leningrad. Why? Because there was an advertisement, go to Leningrad, it costs only 675 Swedish kronor. Oh, I will manage this for 1,000. So I said to my 2 children, now we go to Leningrad. Where is Leningrad? I show them a map. We take a bus. It was very cheap. So I went by bus together with my 2 children to Leningrad.
In 1970?
In 1970. And then they showed me an exhibition about the war. I can't tell. Such a shock and a shame. I said, as I said, I'm the only one who didn't understand that. I'm certainly the only one in the world who has been so stupid. Because my husband always said to me, you must read, Agneta, you must, because I hadn't read that much. So maybe I'm too stupid. Of course I'm too stupid. So I went home with this horrifying understanding. It was not the US who saved us. It was the Soviet Union with, you know, I was absolutely shocked. So I went home and started to talk about it. I didn't want to hear me. I said, can't you hear what I say? Oh yeah, we know that. Then later on I understood I was in the wrong party, because I had unconsciousness as I was joined the Liberal Folkpartiet in Sweden. And I went to the political meeting and I started to talk about Soviet Union. You must understand. You know, I was like this. Oh! And they said, yeah. Well, I was obviously in the wrong party, so I rather quickly left this party. And I really, but it was such a opening up of the understanding of the world, of the media, of the big big lie.
So Russia opened your eyes.
This fact, not Russia, but the fact that Swedish media and history and everything has taught me not to know this. Terrible suffering, saving us all from Nazism. Since then, I'm the one I am today. I will not finish. I will not stop. Now we are there again with lies, with demonizing a huge neighbor with all kind of, I can't say it, so perfid, so evil. We are in an evil part today to make us believe that Russia is planning to attack Sweden. I say, no, don't count on me. This is what so I'm very often invited as a speaker. Actually, I'm happy for that in Sweden. Yes, I am. To talk about these things, to talk about NATO, to talk about how we, a neutral and non-aligned country, in secrecy has joined hand with the world's most cruel empire. There I am.
By the way, you mentioned that the demonizing of Russia, the evil demonizing of Russia in the Swedish media and in Swedish politics. How is this happening? It's happening in the media, of course, in the press, but why is this happening? Why Sweden wants to demonize Russia? Why the media is full of anti-Russian hatred? Not only in Sweden, of course, in all Western countries, but why Sweden?
Sweden is, how should I say, when you go to Germany, when I go to even to Denmark and to Norway and to not maybe Finland and Sweden, we can't even understand, people can't even understand the plans and the secrecy. In a way they, so sad. In a way they think they are in a peaceful country. They have not been able to, and in a way it's also a good, how should I say, the people don't want war, and they can't even understand the plan. They can't, they don't believe that there is something like a plan to secretly take over Sweden. But I can see it so clear that they do, with all these exercises not mentioned in media, all these well, one important cultural weapon is the movie industry, the films, creating stupidity. If you see what this power has done, the latest, I mean, taking over Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, making a mess out of these countries, what more do we need to understand that this is a dangerous, and I would say like Reagan's an evil empire. They are is in my view an evil empire. And I've been traveling so much in the US. I've got a scholarship actually to stand there about 1 year. So I've been there, I've traveled there, I have many good friends, and they say, we are in the belly of the beast. Agneta, you must help us. You in Europe must help us to understand what we have become. They always use this word. We decent Americans are in the belly of the beast. We need help from the rest of the world to get rid of this beast.
You mentioned exercises and military exercises not mentioned in the Swedish media. So what kind of exercises have there been, and what is it
There
about?
have been like cold response. It's from land, sea, air. One in 2012, cold response, was partly in the northern tip of Sweden. The majority, the biggest part of the land was in northern Norway. It was the only time we really understood what they were doing, because Norwegian cargo plane with 5 people in it crashed into Kebnekaise and 5 died. Then it was occasionally mentioned about these cold response held every second year in the north. So, but as I said, you have to go to the north, you have to talk with the friends in the north. There, Norrländska Socialdemokraten, rather good, they cover. But you know, few people live in the north. Most people live in Gothenburg, in Malmö, in Stockholm. There is not covered at all. So that's how they come away with it. So you have to be, when I've been arrested, should I tell about? We were so upset, 8 women in 2015. Then the Arctic Challenge exercise took part, or started with the 95 air war wings in the air at the same time. It was war training, war. But so high up, so it's very difficult to see with the or in the inland where few people live. So it was, we couldn't see it in Luleå, absolutely not, because they were not there. But we were there, we knew it. So we were 8 women, 4 about 20, and 4 in my age, about 75, 80. What did we do? We knew they were there, and we had taken time. We knew that they might have lunch time, so they are not like this. So we had a, what is it called? Iron, what you can cut fences with, rather heavy.
Yes.
And then we digged a hole, and then we crept under the fence from 4 different parts. We there and the other there. So, and we went in to the field, to the runway. And we were singing, and we had a banner. We had where we had printed, "It's enough. It's enough. Nu räcker det. It's enough." And then we carried it, and then we went in, and then we lay down on the runway. You know, and we were not afraid at all, because they are the criminals, not us. We are not criminal. They are criminal. Lay down. And there was a young, oh poor man, he was so upset. He came with a little car, you know, they have small cars on the airfield. Go away, go away. Oh, what are you saying? We are here, we want to be here, we said. Da-di-da-di-da. And then he said again, and then he came, go away. No, we didn't go. So we were marching over the airfield and lay down. And then they came, one car, one car. Okay, they brought us into the cars. And then we were sitting in a circle, and then we were questioned, each one. And after a while, this is interesting. After a while, I got a letter from the investigator, from the police, that they didn't want to accuse me of any crime because it didn't fall under some, I don't know, I don't remember, but they say we write it off. Interesting. But I thought, in my conspiracy theory, that this is, they don't want to make a case.
Of course.
They don't want to make a case. What can we do with all these women? It will be will ruin NATO. But after 1 year, I got another letter. We want to question you, because that must have been some higher authority who said, you can't leave them like this. So in this year, you know, it was now in 2017, on the 23rd of January, I was brought in front of the court in Luleå. First I was investigated by the very beautiful Hanford police. He was so kind. And he obviously thought I have done something good, because he could hardly, like this, you know, there are people all over. What did you do? Yeah, question me, I said. So I was put in front of court in Luleå, the 23rd of January 2017, this year. I went there, and together with my friends, and it was a huge event. The whole, what is it called? The house of the courthouse, yeah, was surrounded by a lot of enthusiastic people. So this is my career.
That's really nice.